This episode of The Gaming Outsider is brought to you by eWin Racing, the home of the best heavy-duty gaming chairs. I can tell you from personal experience that I've never sat in a more comfortable chair at my desk. eWin Racing has chairs for gamers of all sizes, too. As a Gaming Outsider listener, you can get 20% off your purchase using our promo code TGO at ewinracing.com. eWin Racing, the best gaming chairs out there.
This is natural-sounding voice actor Roger Craig Smith, and you're listening to Scott Clark and the Gaming Outsider!
That sounds normal, right? That's kind of how I talk, actually.
Hey there, Go community. On this week's episode, all three of my co-hosts are unavailable, so I welcome Jacob, the newest core member of the Gaming Outsider, to talk about the future of video games and what that holds. In news, Final Fantasy XIV is coming to Xbox, which could mean some huge news down the road for Square Enix games on the platform. Plus, I found my new addiction in a roguelike called Ember Knights, and I'm absolutely hooked. This is the Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community, which can be found at thegamingoutsider.com. It is Sunday, July 30th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me are not Zach, Alyssa, and CB. Unfortunately, all three of them were unavailable to record. They're either traveling, they're either at work, or they are not feeling very well. So, unfortunately, I'm the only core group member here. But I was not going to monologue for you guys for an hour and a half or so on a podcast. So instead, I decided to join a good friend and the newest member of the Gaming Outsider crew, my good friend, Mr. Jacob Gunderson. Jacob, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm feeling good to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
That's awesome, man. I know that you have done some reviews for us, so your voice may sound familiar to everybody. But I wanted to kind of just introduce you a little bit more. Tell everybody about yourself, how you got involved with the Gaming Outsider, and just before you say that, I just want to say if this is your first time here, this is not a normal episode. we got 4 different hosts here, and just luck of the draw, 3 were not available today. So, but I'm really excited to talk to you, man, because I feel like I've been hanging out with you nonstop for the past couple weeks.
A lot lately.
A lot, and we'll get into that. But why don't you tell everybody about yourself a little bit?
All right, so I started gaming around the age of 5. I started with the original NES. Moved on to PlayStation. Ended up being a PlayStation guy. Had an Xbox for a little bit, but never really got into it. Stayed on PlayStation. And then around the time I started graduating high school and stuff, I started getting into the more, I want to do something with games. I want to be a part of games. So I actually went to Full Sail University for a little while. And did programming for video games, and then I ended up doing some design work and whatnot.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I actually know a little ins and outs of games, and maybe that's why I'm super critical about games, especially when I look at them from like a programming standpoint and a design standpoint. But other than that, yeah, I love. My favorite game is the Monster Hunter series. I've played that from the very get-go. I bought it on day one when it released in 2014, and been playing it ever since. Some of the Japanese editions of it missed me, but I got all the handhelds, and it went from PlayStation to Nintendo, and Nintendo got it because they were mostly handheld and they were trying to get all the people together, and I didn't have any friends, so it was just me. That was sad. But I play a lot of Skyrim. I play a lot of Call of Duty. I'm across the board.
Well, thanks for joining us. And I know that when you're not playing video games, you're also an excellent realtor. So if anybody needs any help purchasing any kind of real estate, be sure to hit up Jake, because he does some awesome work.
I appreciate the plug. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem, man. How'd you told me the other day, and this was actually news to me, about how you got involved with us originally, because we met you right before R2V2 2019. So you've been kind of involved with us for 4 years, but tell everybody the story you told me about how that all came about.
So I just started being a realtor, and I needed a way to get my name out there, and I wanted, my wife told me to follow my passions. And so I wanted to find something with video games. And so I started doing a little research and, found a couple of places, found a couple of things here and there, some communities, whatever. And then on my way to work one day, just listening to radio, on came an R2V2 commercial. And I went, man, I have to get in contact with these people today. And that's exactly what I did. And you guys were actually filled up on sponsorship. And so I ended up making the bags for R2V2, the first one. And I did not realize how fast those were going to go.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What do we have, like 100 of them?
I think I had 300.
300. So just for everybody that's not knowing what we're talking about, at the door, we gave out these canvas bags that were branded with the R2V2 logo, and then also Jacob's, business. And that was like the way we got him to sponsor the show. And you're doing the same thing for R2V2 this year, right?
I am.
I'm looking forward to that. So if you do come, you're going to get a handy little canvas bag.
They're going to be bigger, they're going to be colored, and there's going to be 500 of them.
500 of them. All right. So the first 500 people that show up, you can get one of these. So it's awesome, man, because not only that, you've been doing reviews for us and everything, but Jacob is also in our D&D group. So there's a group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us that get together every other Thursday, or we try to. Jacob's, I know I had to go around the table and count. I literally had to do that. But outside of that, as I've talked about, I have been spending a lot of time down at the Lyran Club where we're holding R2V2, just trying to, basically it's turned into a renovation. Is it fair to say renovation at this point? Because we are really tearing this place apart in painting and cleaning, and it's just a lot of work. But Jacob has been donating his time and effort and even some resources for supplies. He and I have been down there like 8 to 10 hours a day sometimes. Multiple days the week. So we've spent a lot of time listening to music and swapping stories and painting and shenanigans, pictures of recreating Titanic scenes and all that good stuff. It's been interesting. It has just been far too hot the last few days to get down there and do anything. Yes, there was a heat index of 115 on Friday here in Rockford, and the room that we're in currently does not have air conditioning. So we decided to take the day off because that was not going to work. We were not going to kill ourselves, but yeah, we're doing the best we can with what we have. Yep. And speaking of R2V2, you guys have heard me talk about it, but I just want to remind you one more time, October 14th, 2023, Sissy Jones and John St. John will be joining us as our VIPs, and there will be tons of vendors selling video games. There's going to be VR to play. There's going to be a video game museum, and there's going to be some video game tournaments as well. So really looking forward to it. Be sure to check out thegamingonsider.com/R2V2 for more details. Also, as of this recording, it's not officially now, but by the time you guys hear this episode, the voting for the podcast awards is closed, and you will probably know if we got nominated at this point, and hopefully we did, fingers crossed, and hopefully that'll get us some exposure as well. But let's get into some games. I know we got a new game to talk about shortly, but I want to talk about the games we've been catching up on. Jacob, I know you were a big Diablo 3 fan. Yes. And you and I have played a little bit of Diablo 4 together. You have put an insane amount of time in it compared to me. And you're still playing that though, right? Yeah. And I got to call you out. Last week's podcast, you said my wife had a barbarian, and that is not true. Yeah. No, she's a wizard or a sorcerer, isn't she? Yeah, she's a sorcerer, but her max level Paragon 800. 800? Yeah, we're both up there in Paragon. We've put lots and lots of hours. You're talking Diablo 3, right? In Diablo 3. We put lots of hours in Diablo 3. Diablo 4 has not fit the bill in comparison yet. Actually, Diablo 4 fits more into Immortal than it does Diablo 3. Diablo Immortal? Yes. Okay, I'm listening. I played that just a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of in-game purchases that can be but don't need to be made. One of the biggest things that me and my wife just found out recently, because I play it with her more often. I wish I played it by myself, but I don't want to get too far ahead of her. But once you hit, like, I've been hearing all these stories about, like, the end game kind of is lacking an end game. You just run around and you just keep doing things, but that was kind of like 3.2. You had adventure mode and you just ran around and you did missions, and then you had to exit the game completely and restart it, and then you had new missions. So this one just keeps going. But once you hit level 50 and go and do your quest to increase the world level, if you continue on with that and you decide to start a new character, that new character has to start all over.
There's no
like without the bonuses of the other characters.
Yes, pretty much. In Diablo 3, you had your gem makers, your blacksmith, all that stuff that could all do things for you, and you could even affix high level equipment to level 1 to help speed level your characters. And this one, they have to start all over. And you can't even join a friend to power level, because if you're level 1, you see level 1 enemies and get level 1 experience. If they're level 60, they see level 60 enemies and get level 60 experience.
So you can't do the Borderlands thing where you can, two different levels can kind of work together and the higher level one help the other one.
No. Because the way they have it set up, if you're level 1, you're going to progress through the game just as fast as you would normally without the other help. And if they're level 60, you're going to progress the exact same way you've been progressing this entire time.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It kind of sucks, but it forces the player to play the game. But I'm not going to have...
Imagine that.
Yeah.
They make me play the game.
I had 12 characters in Diablo 3 all max level. And in this one, I've got 4 right now. And two of them are almost level 50. And then we started Necromancers on the original, on the normal world. And then I have a seasonal character. And I'm finding out that the season doesn't really add anything for me that I want to the game. Other than a battle pass, because I know how everyone loves battle passes. But out of the battle pass, if you don't buy the premium, you only get 26 awards out of the 100 that they have. So that seems kind of cheap to me, but that's
I've never got into the world of battle passes, so this is all new territory for me. So I actually bought the Uber version of Diablo 4 that gave me, I believe, a battle pass, which I haven't redeemed yet. So I don't know.
Well, if you play the season, you're going to want to, but
yeah. I haven't even finished the campaign. I'm still on Act 2, so I got a long way to go.
A little bit.
Getting distracted by other games, man. It's great. So yeah, it's interesting. You're one of the only people I've talked to, well, you and your wife, that have had a negative experience with Diablo 4. Almost everybody else I talked to has just really, really enjoyed it. So
the gameplay itself is fun. Like you can get into it and you can do, your crazy spells and attacks and all that kind of stuff and get the legendaries, and it's all pretty and colorful, and the combat's fun and whatnot. But when you get down to the actual everything else in the game, it starts feeling so restricting as to what you can and can't do. Because even if you open up World Tier 3 with one character, you can't start World Tier 3 with a new character you have. So you have to start off at 1 or 2 and then work your way up to 50 again, do the quest, and then you can go, and then you can progress further. Whereas in Diablo 3, that was kind of the
fun of the game is you get one level up and then it helps you with your second and third and fourth characters.
Yeah. In Diablo 3, I think the highest tier of Torment was 16. And so when we started new characters, we'd go to Torment 13 or 14 and give them weird gear that they would be allowed to use at level 1. And then it would just be a fireworks show of them leveling up until, they were max level. And then we would play with those characters for a little bit. And if we liked them, we would keep them. If we didn't like them, they would just get deleted. But
yeah, I mean, if you beat the game, it's not like you're playing against other people. You know what I mean? Play the game the way you want to.
Yeah. Well, Diablo 3 had a little bit of PvP in it. There was an area that you could go to fight each other. In Diablo 4, there's whole arenas, there's whole areas of the map that are PvP.
I will not be going there.
Yeah, no, PvP enabled, I guess. And so, me and my wife were walking in there, and you get a little symbol on the side of your screen that's like, "Oh, you're entering this zone." No, turn around. I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm walking through the area.
If you die, is there?
I have not done it. Yeah. I have not done it. I refuse to go in there. I see all these people. Well, you're walking around the map and you see these people run into your little area. They do some stuff, and I don't know. I've watched people sit on the sidelines and wait for the quest to be done, and then they'll come in and get the rewards from other people doing the quests. And I just think the MMO part of this game has kind of lost its, luster. Because these people just sit on the outskirts and kind of just, oh, what are you doing over there? Oh, there's a chest now. Look at you guys. Or you go into a world event and there's 14 people, and it's just it's chaos. In
but
some
I mean,
of these
the loot's
areas.
not shareable, right? Like everybody gets their own loot. It's not like
everyone gets their own loot, but I mean, you see like with necromancers, their skeletons and stuff are more invisible, so you don't see them. But still, having 14 characters on the screen at once, all doing things with enemies, it's so loud.
I'll bet. Well, I haven't touched it this week because I've been too busy down at the Lyran and
playing Streets of Rage 2.
I did play a little Streets of Rage 2. Kevin approached me, Kevin, our producer. He wanted to do another trade-off episode. If you remember last time we did Grandia and Robotrek, and he wanted to do some shorter games because we both spent a great deal of time on those RPGs. So one of the games he challenged me to play was Streets of Rage 2, which is a game I've never played before. I mean, I've played beat-em-ups, but this one is... it's easier than I was expecting it to be, just because I feel like beat-em-ups have gotten so more complicated over the years. This one just feels very simple. Like you've got, the typical punches and kicks and jumps, and then a special attack that drains your meter, which I just hate that. I just never use the special attacks, because why would I use the special attacks? But the thing that's frustrating is I got to like level 5 before I lost all my continues, and I gotta start it again. But there's these guys with knives. Have you played Streets of Rage 2?
I have not.
Yeah, there's these guys with knives, and they just hold it in front of them. You can't see me. I'm holding it, they just hold it in front of them, and then just kind of slowly walk forward, and just if they touch you, you just get hit. You have to like jump kick him just at the right perfect amount, and it's very, very frustrating. And then you get to the bosses. Like the boss in level 5 is like this guy with boxing gloves, and he can actually attack you from above and below, which is frustrating because you can't do that. And I don't know. I haven't figured out a pattern how to do it. So I don't know how I'm going to beat this game, because it gets tougher. The first couple levels are quite easy, but it definitely ramps up in difficulty. I'm going to have to play more carefully. I guess there's people that go through and play it without ever taking a hit, and I don't know how they do that. That will not be happening with me. But
I hate those people.
I'll go into more detail when we do that episode next month, because that's how it goes. But anyway, that's the games we've been catching up on. Let's go ahead and jump into the week's news. Got some interesting news to talk about this week. First off, the sequel to Immortals Phoenix Rising has been canceled. Xbox is releasing a pizza-scented controller to promote the upcoming TMNT animated film. Not making that up, guys. Final Fantasy XIV is officially coming to Xbox. That seems like pretty big news. And then, this is just kind of a fun story, but a Tron fan found an incredibly rare arcade cabinet just completely abandoned, and he picked it up this past week. All of that happened this week. Jacob, you're the only one here. You're our special guest. What story would you like to talk about?
As much as I don't want to talk about this, let's just get it out of the way now. The pizza-scented controllers.
How weird is this?
They have it says it's a built-in diffuser, and it looks like a pizza, and it slides into the back of the controller.
Right. And then you get this little bottle that you just kind of drip the scented stuff in there, and then it just blows out this pizza scent.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this. I think it's kind of brilliant marketing, but it's not anything that I would want. First off, what's it going to smell like? Oh, it says it smells like pizza, but
I know, but what's it going to actually smell like?
I know, but it says it smells like pizza, but that doesn't mean it's going to smell like pizza.
See, if I had a roommate that had one of these, I would totally be getting like fart blossom juice or something, and when they're asleep, putting this in the top of this thing, so when they go to use it, instead of pizza coming out, it just smells like something else. I just think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't know, but they've got 4 controllers. They're all green, or the ooze green, it says. Mm-hmm. They've all got the names of the turtles on them. So they're all, there's obviously 4 turtles, but they're all individually placed for the turtles and whatnot. They got their name on them. They got the colors. They got, their little weapons and stuff on them. So that's cool. If it was just that, I could see getting that, but I don't want the pizza diffuser. I don't. I don't want it, but I want to experience it just to see what it's like.
but I don't want.
I'm not gonna be in a Call of Duty lobby like, ha! You just got beat with a pizza diffuser, guy.
Right. Yeah.
It brings me
The interesting thing is that you can't purchase these. These are only for giveaway. They're doing like like you just basically have to follow the Xbox Game Pass Twitter handle and retweet the sweepstakes tweet sometime between the July 24th and August 13th to be entered into this. I don't even think I clicked it to retweet it because I'm just like, whatever. If I did get it, it would just be something that would stay wrapped and on my shelf as a collector's item because it's super rare, right?
Bruh, that's gonna be rare.
I'd never use it. I mean, but 4 controllers, that's got to be what, like over $300 for regular controllers. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of crazy.
I couldn't see myself using it.
I could see myself using the controller because, again, who doesn't like Ninja Turtles? You know what I mean?
Right.
I could use a free controller, but just the whole pizza thing is just such a gimmick. You remember like back in the day when like smell-o-vision was a thing that they were trying? Yeah. You remember that? Where like you could have smells come out of like this thing on top of your TV during commercials, like for different foods and stuff. What a terrible idea! I don't know if that actually ever happened. But
I don't remember what it is. I'm gonna have to look it up. But I remember there was a game that came with scent packets with a little machine, and then as you were going through the game, it would like disperse these scent packets into the air. So they were like, sulfur for gunpowder, whatever, all this kind of different stuff, like burning wood and whatnot. And so you could like smell the game as you were playing it. But the packets for the smells were like expensive, I think.
Yeah.
And so it never caught on because hold on, guys. I'd love to play more, but I gotta refill my scent packets real quick.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun. Yeah, that's just kind of a more hilarious story than anything.
My printer's missing magenta. Yeah.
For me, the story that stuck out to me, I thought this was huge news for a couple of reasons. But Final Fantasy XIV officially coming to Xbox. This announcement was made at the Final Fantasy Fan Fest this past week. If you remember, Final Fantasy XIV is one of the MMO games. It was released originally in 2010 and has since only made it to PlayStation in the console market. Now, you may be asking, why are we getting excited, or why am I getting excited about a 13-year-old game finally coming to my platform of choice? I could have played it all along on PlayStation, right? Honestly, I didn't even know this was on PlayStation. I thought this was a PC-only game until this story happened. But anyway, there's
13 years in the dark.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, it was PC originally, and then it came to PlayStation later on. But this version is going to come with faster loading and 4K support on the Series X console. So, number one, the reason this stood out to me was we just did a podcast with Marina Ryan over on Patreon. We did our Desert Islands episode with her, where she talked about her top 5 favorite games and the top 5 games she would play if she were stuck on a desert island for however long a time. And she chose Final Fantasy XIV not only for her favorite game of all time, but also for her desert island game. So she is in love with this game, and listening to her talk about this game kind of sold me on it. I've been scared to death of MMOs pretty much my entire gaming career because I've heard horror stories of people in World of Warcraft, and I'm worried I'm going to like them too much and then never play anything else, or start it and then never finish it. But the way she talked about this one really made me think I want to give it a shot. So I don't know. Right. I may have to do that. But the other reason that this makes it really interesting to me, and I want to kind of get your take on this, is the whole exclusivity thing on consoles has just been a sore subject for everybody. It's caused console wars, and people are saying their consoles this and that, and Microsoft just bought all these studios, and they've got Activision Blizzard King now, and what games are going to be available on which consoles, and that whole argument. But Square Enix has been kind of a big question mark as to what's going to happen with Square Enix games, because we haven't had, Final Fantasy 15 was on Xbox, but Final Fantasy 16 is a PlayStation exclusive. We never got Final Fantasy 7 Remake on Xbox. We kind of thought we were going to, and if you are, you'd think that's the one you'd want to lead with in terms of like making an announcement. I don't know.
I feel like this game is a testing ground to kind of dip their toes in the water, if you would, to see how well this franchise is going to do on the Xbox. Maybe they've done some stuff in the past and it hasn't gone great, and maybe that's why they don't release more on the Xbox, or maybe there's other contracts in play. But it says in the interview that they're looking forward to working continuously on getting other things from Square Enix onto the Xbox. And so maybe this is just the testing ground for bigger things to come.
I don't know. Do you think the MMO Final Fantasy is the right game to start with a test?
This game, from what I've seen, has been raved about for a long time, and so yeah, I think if it's gonna, I believe that people are playing on the computer or the PlayStation or whatever. Everyone's got friends that have different consoles that choose this, that choose that, whatever. So they're going to go right to their Xbox guys and goes, "Hey, I've been playing this game forever. Now you can finally join me." And then, even if they come for a little bit, that's still attention that comes.
I don't know, man. I just feel like 7 Remake would be the true test. Wouldn't it be easier to port 7 Remake than an MMO? I don't know anything about programming. You're the one that knows more about this than I do.
Well, it would be just as easy, but I'm thinking from like a commercialized standpoint. This might be not a big thing that they want to put out there yet. And then Final Fantasy VII Remake, maybe it's going to come with something else because it's going to the Xbox finally in forever. And so it's going to be an even bigger thing than what this is now. This is just like the endorsement of the partnership. Are people going to be happy that this is going there?
Right, because I would love to see some other Square Enix titles on Xbox. That Final Fantasy Pixel remaster that was just released on Switch this year. I wouldn't mind. I probably would actually prefer to have that on Switch now that I think about it, because that's just a great portable series to carry around with you.
Right.
But if I could have have the option, maybe so I can get those achievement points. There's no achievements on Switch, but I do want to read the quote from the CEO of Square Enix, Takashi Kiryu. I'm sure I was hoping Alyssa was going to be here so she could correct my pronunciation of the names, but he said,
good.
Quote, "And one more thing, as CEO of Square Enix, we want to continue to deliver fabulous games to fans across the world. And of course, we want to welcome the Xbox community as well. And starting with today's announcement of Final Fantasy XIV coming in spring 2024, and whenever possible, we are planning to bring our games to Xbox for players around the world to enjoy. We're really looking forward to working closely with Phil and the Xbox team to make this possible." Unquote. That gets me excited, because that just, the more the merry. And I know I prefer Xbox, but I want everybody to have everything at their platform of choice. This is not me like, hey, this is a big win for Xbox. No, I just prefer Xbox, and I would like to play some of these games on that platform instead. Phil Spencer responded at the same time and said, quote, "Thank you, Kiryu-san. We deeply respect the rich legacy of Square Enix, and we look forward to building on the relationship that we've established in bringing Final Fantasy XIV to the Xbox and partnering closely with you and the Square Enix team on future games," unquote. So, yeah, this felt like really big news to me. Because I was, if you remember, when they did the Sony State of Play a few weeks ago, I predicted that Sony was going to announce that they were purchasing Square Enix. And I feel like this kind of puts all that to rest, because that's clearly not happening. Can't happen, no, right? I mean, that just...
No,
I guess they could and still put it on Xbox, but...
Well, yeah. Are they purchasing them to take them over, or are they purchasing them to do other things more aligned with them? They're still going to be, managing themselves, but now, a bigger part of the management is, Sony. But as far as the exclusivity of all of the games goes and whatever, I love the idea of having exclusive games, but I feel that those should come from, like Sony Studios and then, Xbox Studios and whatever. And
not third party.
Right. Not third party. I feel like that should just be open, but that's just me. But it's almost the same thing as when GameStop always had their DLC or their little add-on content or whatever.
Exclusive to GameStop.
Right. That's what it feels like. Well, it's like when Soul Calibur came out and they had the Xbox version. They had 3 different versions of the game, and the normal one for computer, and then they had the PlayStation one which had Darth Vader, and the Xbox one that had Yoda. And it's like, okay, well, I don't want
to. The Nintendo one had Link.
Oh,
didn't it?
Did it?
The
I think at some point, yeah.
Soul Calibur 2, I believe, had Link.
Yeah, but I don't want to buy 3 different versions of the game. If if from a collector standpoint, I don't want to do that. That just hurts my feelings.
Well, from a gameplay standpoint, I don't want to do that. I just want to have all 3 characters. I can't. There's not going to be any time where Yoda can fight Darth Vader in Soul Calibur.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, when have we ever seen that? That would be pretty cool. So, I don't know. I'm hopeful. The funny thing is that I was also very excited when I found out that the Atlas games were coming to Xbox. I'm like, all right, I can play Persona 5, and I've never touched it because I'm scared to death of 100+ hours. And I know that Final Fantasy 14 is going to be even worse than that, probably, with how massive that game is. So I'm a big talker. I'm real stoked about these games coming, but am I really going to play them? I don't know, but I'm happy that they're there. I just really hope that Final Fantasy 7 Remake comes to Xbox because I have been itching to play that game again. I want to play it again before Rebirth comes out, and I would.
Right.
It would be nice to be able to play it and earn some achievements and play it on my platform of choice. But anyway,
right. Oh, I do the same thing. I sit there, like, I have Steam on my computer, and I'll find old games that I love to play or whatever, and I put them on my wish list or whatever. Steam sends me a message, hey, this is on for sale right now, and then I go and pick it up, and then it just sits in my library.
I have so many games on my Steam library I've never even installed once. Like, I'll play that later. I never do. Steam loves that. That's why they do those sales, because they're like...
Yep. $5 here, $5 there.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I picked up Valhalla. Assassin's Creed Valhalla was just on sale, and I got the big box, the biggest package you could get for the game for like $40.
Oh, really? Like, with all the collector's items and statues,
all the DLC and all that kind of stuff. Yep. Got it all, and have not downloaded it yet.
Yeah, that's a beefy game. That's a beefy game.
Yeah, but I was so excited that I got it.
That's cool, man. Any of these other 2 stories interest you, or do you want to move on?
Actually, the cabinet, the Tron cabinet is awesome to me.
CB found this story when we were at D&D. I don't know if you remember if you were there yet. He was like legit mad. He's like, why can't this stuff ever happen to me? It's like, so go ahead, tell the story.
Just this Tron lover, this huge fan who is actually writing a book about the legacy of Tron throughout the years, was just going through his hometown of Chicago and found this extremely rare discs of Tron cabinet just on the street.
And I think his brother found it, didn't he? And then called him up and said, "Hey, come check this out."
Maybe, I don't know. I read the report. But anyway, so he sat there and he watched the cabinet for a couple of days, and he found out that it was abandoned. And he got a couple of friends together, and they went and got the cabinet. And the trash company, maybe the city, whatever, put a note on it that said the original owner has to tear it apart first before the city will take it. And so him and his friend just loaded it up and took it home. And after a week or so of tinkering, he got it to work. And so this was like the holy grail of everything that he had been waiting for out of the Tron series. And it just happened to fall into his lap. And nobody else knew what it was.
This story is like taking off. Everybody is talking about this. And I wonder if whoever the original owner is, I want to interview that person. And be like, why are you throwing this thing out, man? Just like putting it on the curb. And because this is like you said, an incredibly rare cabinet. Was it like from 1987 or something like that? Maybe even
I think it was 83.
Was it 83? It's so rare they refer to it as, quote, unobtainium, which is obviously a made up word, but how cool is it that this falls into the hands of somebody that is already a massive Tron fan? Not somebody that's going to take this, fix it up, and then turn around and make a profit on it. This is something that he's going to keep for himself. I kind of love it when stories like that happen. That's really cool.
Well, not only that, now he's got this great the book that he's writing or whatever. He's got the great chapter of him finding the Holy Grail and fixing it up and playing it and whatever. And I think the article said the only time that he's ever played that game was in a museum for video games. Like they had some kind of copy or an old cabinet there, and that was the only time that he's ever got to play the game.
Right.
And now he's got a cabinet of his own for free.
He probably is going to sell a lot more copies of that book now too, with how the story has taken off. So
it's going great for him.
Because he's here in town, or not town, but he's in Chicago. I should contact him once his book is written and see if he needs a narrator for the book.
Look at you throwing your voice around.
I should do that, man.
A little ventriloquist.
Ventriloquist.
You're just throwing your voice into everything.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there it is.
All right. So there is one other story. Did you ever play Immortals Phoenix Rising?
I did not.
I played it for about an hour, and I really liked it. Don't know why I didn't get back into it. Just got distracted. But this game, first off, shout out to David Newman, who shared this story on our social media outlets. This game came out in 2020, and the sequel was in development, but it was very early, and they scrapped it because Ubisoft said they wanted to focus more on their established IP, which is weird because I feel like this is going to be an established IP. Like, think of what you could do with that universe. Like, I don't know.
But we already have Ubisoft has Assassin's Creed, which is going down the same line of thinking.
This is a different tone than Assassin's Creed. This is more comical.
It was, but if you played Odyssey, they use all of the Greek gods in that one, and you kind of play with them, and you got an attitude with them, and they do things for you and all that kind of stuff. And I never played this game, so I can't speak to it. But if they've already got one series that's kind of going down that path, why would you add another series to it?
Kind of cannibalize themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
No, instead they just make Skull and Bones that's never going to come out. And so, I don't know. Technically, the story is... Yeah, right. Technically, the story is still a rumor because Ubisoft has failed to comment, but it does come from, quote, sources familiar with the matter. So I got to mention that. I know if Zach were here, he would yell at me for talking about rumors, but I still think it's worth mentioning. So anyway, that's the week's news. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Phoenix Rising has a cult following. It might be small, but there's a loyal group of people that love the game and would love to see an addition to the story. That now they're just not going to get if it's true.
Mm-hmm. What was the story of that game before they changed it to Phoenix Immortals Rising or Immortals Phoenix Rising? Wasn't it something with monsters, and they had to change it because there's a Monster Energy drink game? I can't remember what that game was called. It's going to drive me crazy. Somebody is yelling at their AirPods right now.
Somebody's yelling at their steering wheel.
I'll think of it. So
why don't you know this?
Let's go ahead and move on and remind everybody very quickly about our Patreon. If you'd like to get some bonus episodes and maybe the regular episode a day earlier than everybody else, you can do so over at patreon.com/thegocast. We just ask for some help and donations. As little as $1 per month will get you the episodes early. $3 per month will get you one bonus episode each month, and $5 will get you 2 bonus episodes each month. And there's actually a link on our website for all of the past episodes. Shout out to Silas Morales, that is Christina's son, who helped put that together for us. Very easy to navigate, better than Patreon. So the upcoming the episodes that are available right now that you can listen to, the Desert Islands Games episode that I talked about with Marina Ryan, that is live now. Also check out her podcast Quest Markers, and the spoiler cast for Final Fantasy 16 with Zach and Brandon Smith from the community is also available. You can check that out right now. I also mentioned upcoming for the month of August, we're going to be doing another trade-off episode with Kevin. Like I mentioned, he's going to make me play Streets of Rage 2. He's also making me play a Genesis game called Marvel Land, which I have never heard of before, but I looked at the gameplay of that. That looks really simple, but he loved it. So, and I'm making him play Sunset Riders and DuckTales. He's never played DuckTales. Can you believe that?
DuckTales was such a good game.
Such a great game. Oh, I love that game so much. And then they did the remake on like Xbox and PlayStation 3, and that was really good. So, anyway, again, if you like to help,
just as good as I remembered it.
Yeah. If you'd like to help support the show, go to patreon.com/thegocast. We really do appreciate the help, and thank you to all of our current subscribers. We really do appreciate it. With that, let's go ahead and jump into the new games that we've been playing. First off, I want to go through a list of some of the upcoming games that are releasing in the next week or so. First off, I don't know how to pronounce this. Astrologia Season 1 on Xbox, August 4th. Super Space Club on Xbox and PC, August 4th. Sklash, S-C-L-A-S-H, Sklash on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC, August 4th. Gigabash on Switch, August 4th. Hammer of Virtue. I thought of you when I saw this trailer for some reason. It reminded me of that one game you reviewed for us with the robot with the laser turret. Wasn't that you that reviewed that game?
Yep.
It reminded me of that, but with destructible environments. Anyway, that's coming to PC August 7th. Mm-hmm. Within a Dead City on PC August 7th as well. A game simply called Gourd on Xbox, PlayStation, PC August 8th. WrestleQuest, which is an RPG based on wrestling, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC August 8th. Tower of Fantasy on PlayStation August 8th, but it's also coming to PC, iOS, and Android on August 11th. 30XX is that Mega Man speedrunning game. Is getting its ports to Switch and its 1.0 release on PC August 9th. Football game that does not feature NFL players called Legend Bowl on Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch August 9th. Boy, how to pronounce this? Mondele on PC August 9th. Mondele. Zombie Soup, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC, August 10th. Stray, which was previously only on PlayStation, is now coming to Xbox on August 10th. The big title, Atlas Fallen, coming on the Xbox Series S and X, PlayStation 5, and PC, August 10th. And then lastly, Pups and Purrs Pet Shop. I know you've got your eye on that one, Jacob, coming to Switch on August 10th. Quite a list here. Any of these titles scream that you've got to play them next week?
First of all, I didn't have the robot with laser eyes. I had a superhero with laser eyes, and I just completely messed that one up. But that's all good. I looked at Hammer of Virtue, and I was like, man, that would be such a fun time waster. It reminds me, it's got like Dark Souls like fighting mechanics, but with a goat simulator idea, and it looks nuts.
Yeah.
That might be fun to check out. Zombie Soup looked like a fun little shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
It looked like a little arcade shooter, kind of top down twin stick shooter.
It just looked kind of cute. Just had a cute
Pups and Purrs. Pups and Purrs, totally. Giving me Nintendog flashbacks from when I never played that game. Atlas Fallen, though, has got to be the big one for this. That game looks great. Did you ever play Nano Breaker on the PS2?
No, I don't remember Nano Breaker at all.
So Nano Breaker was kind of like a Raiden, Devil May Cry kind of game. Sure. And the weapon you used was made from plasma. And so as you're fighting the enemies and stuff, different combos allowed your sword to turn into different weapons and, smash and cut up and claw the enemies however you wanted to in different combos. And so when I saw Atlas Fallen and they're like, oh, you take two weapons at the same time and seamlessly change in between those in these combos, that's what I saw. And so I'm really excited about that. And looking more into that game, it seems the combinations of skills that you can make and then use with friends and stuff just excites me. And so that's the one that I'm going to be looking at getting.
The game looks too massive for me. I just it looks too huge. I just feel like I'm going to be spending 80 or more hours on that game, and it's so sad.
I hope so.
You like that. Yeah.
I love it.
The whole like sliding across the sand and the movement stuff looks really cool. I will say that, and the combat looks fun. I just I just got done with a RPG, and that was only 40 hours. I don't know. I'm getting too old for long games, man. Or I gotta finish the ones I'm reviewing. But it does look really cool. It looks gorgeous. I'm interested to learn what the story is, but I'm glad you're gonna check it out, and I'll have you come talk to us about it on the show so you can tell us how it is. There's two on here that interest me. I think WrestleQuest looks like a lot of fun, and I'm not into wrestling at all. But the idea of doing a turn-based JRPG with wrestlers is just something fresh and fun. So I think that one's interesting. Also, I never
played. They've got old legends.
Oh, do they? Like actual wrestlers?
Yeah, they have. I think they said 30 legends in there, and the first one they showed was Macho Man Randy Savage, and I was like, "Oh, okay, you sold me."
All right.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
I was never even into wrestling. Like the most I ever got into wrestling was there was a WWF video game at the arcade near my house that had like Andre the Giant and Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan and some of those guys. That's been my only exposure to professional wrestling at all. I mean, obviously I know who The Rock is, but Anyway, the other one that interests me here is 30XX. I'm a big Mega Man X fan, and that one, since it's coming to Switch, I actually could play that one now. But it's also not like a normal Mega Man X game. It's just kind of like a speedrunning type of situation, so I'm not 100% sold on it, but I may pick it up just to see how it goes.
It's a roguelike, isn't it?
I mean, it's procedurally generated. Yeah, so I guess you could call it a roguelike. I don't know the mechanics. I remember Rel reviewed it for us in early access. And he's pretty high on it. I think he played 20XX as well, which was the first one. And he's a big fan of it, and he likes his Mega Man stuff, so I kind of trust him. I may have to check that one out. And honestly, Stray, I could play Stray now. I could have played it on Xbox or on PlayStation, but I'd be interested to see what it is, but I probably won't pick it up until it's on a sale. You know what I mean? That's going to be a sale game for me. So
I don't really have the need to play as a cat.
Yeah,
so,
Alyssa reviewed that one for us. She's
might just be me.
Lover. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the games we've been reviewing.
All right, let's see. You've been playing Ember Knights for us, right?
Yes, I have.
What's that like? I watched it a little bit.
I've only had this game for a day, and this game is already like becoming my game that I'm thinking about when I'm not playing it. This is going to seriously crack my top 10 for sure.
Really?
Yeah, it is. Dude, I love this game so much. I have been searching whenever I come across a new like procedurally generated roguelite type game where you just go and you run as far as you can and upgrade your stuff so that you can come back and try again. I feel like that itch has not been scratched for me since Undermine, and Ember Knights has scratched that itch and then some, and I am so glad that this game exists because I am just absolutely loving it. Mark Szymanski, David Newman, if you guys are listening and you're looking for the next roguelite game, this is the one, guys. This game is great. So I'm going to start with the only downside of this game, and that is the story. There's hardly a story here, and I don't care. I truly don't care. There's a bad guy that's taken over the world, and you just have to kind of work your way through dungeons to stop him. Okay? It reminds me very much of Hades. Did you play Hades?
No, I did not.
Okay. Zach loved Hades because of the story, and there's lots of really great conversations that you would have with characters when you got back to your home base to do your upgrades. That is not present here. There are some conversations that you have, but mostly like the shopkeepers that get you new upgrades and everything. But there's not a ton of story. The most that the story really goes is right before, like when you beat a boss and you go into the next dungeon, there's a little cutscene where you see the big bad guy that is like trying to block off the next section for you, and he kind of looks at you and then scurries off and leaves something in your way and then you just kind of break through to get to the next area. That's all that really happens here. So, and it sounds like I'm being negative, but I truly don't care. I am not playing this game for the story. I am playing this game for the grind. And I don't use the word grind as a negative here. I love the grind of this game. So it plays very much like Hades in that it is slightly isometric. You've got your little character that looks like his head is just like a flaming fireball. And you start out with a weapon that is just like a sword. And then as you make each run, you're going through, trying to make your way through a mini boss and then to a final boss of that world. And if you die along the way, you start back at the beginning and you've earned embers, which are these, it's like the currency in the game that you use to level up your permanent upgrades and everything. And you'll eventually unlock some other weapons too. My favorite is the bow. You know me, right? I'm a ranged player, so...
Yeah, you had to have your bow, didn't you?
I did. I've actually had 2 more weapons past the bow, and I've tried them, and I'm like, no, I'm good with the bow. I've just got so adept at this bow. It's really great. But what sets this game apart from other games like it is, first off, there's a timing aspect. So if you can imagine, you've got your normal attack, which if I'm using the bow, I'm just going to use that for an example. You can shoot it just normally. If you do it 3 times in a row, the third shot shoots off like 2 at a time. But the way to really do a powerful attack is to hold it down, to charge it, and then you release and you get this really powerful shot. But there's a timing aspect to it, because if you release it at just the right time, it has the word perfect that pops up. And so like you get like the most damage, and it does some extra, it'll pierce through enemies or it'll hit multiple enemies. So that's fun. And then along the way, you acquire skills and relics. Skills, you can only have 2 on at a time, and they're basically like, imagine like your magic, like some kind of magic ability. One of my favorites, let's see, what is my favorite? Where like it's like a cone in front of you that anything inside the cone burns, so they get a burn effect. Things like that. Or my other favorite one is this, like, is it a chakra? It's a weapon that's like a spinning disc kind of thing.
Chakram.
Yeah, I'm saying it wrong.
Yeah.
I really like that one. But just like your main weapon, those are also set to timing. So if you release them at the right time, it's more powerful, and it gives you some kind of added bonus. Like some of them may give you health. Some of them may give you extra poison damage or burn damage. So there's all these moving pieces going, and that's cool. And then you have the relics. Relics are permanent upgrades for that run that just do something like the one that I keep coming back to does poison damage if you use your regular attack, and I got another one that does fire damage if I use my skill, or I've got one that will give me armor if I get a perfect on my skill. You know what I mean? It's just little things like that like make each run feel like you're playing it completely different. And it's just so great. That's what I love about this style of game, is where each run feels familiar, but it also has elements that make it feel completely unique to the last one that you did. And then to top it off, you come back, you've got all kinds of things to upgrade. First off, you can find relics and skills along the way. Like after you defeat a certain number of enemies, they drop, like a relic will just drop, and you pick that up and take it back to these guys at your base camp, and they more or less like identify it for you. And now that's available in your list of things, right? And then the other thing they do that is really interesting is with the skill tree, where there's 6 different skills that you can upgrade, but it's deceptive because each one has a hidden one behind it. So, for instance, the health upgrade. There's one that just adds like hit points, and it has 5 slots that you can fill in. Are you with me?
Yep.
And then, so you can max that one out. But then there's another one that will give you some extra heart replenishment once you finish each individual room of the dungeon, right? And then there's another one that after you fight a boss or a mini boss, it'll give you 5 max HP You know what I mean? So it won't refill your hearts, but it'll make your max HP higher. And then you have to choose on each run which of those 3 you want for your health upgrade. You can have them all upgraded to max, but you can only choose one of them on that run, which is interesting because it's kind of a push and pull kind of thing. It does make it hard, but it makes it interesting because what kind of run am I going on? Am I going on a boss rush run? Am I going to try to go through this, or am I just going to collect embers to build this stuff up? It's just really interesting. And then the other one that's super interesting is the damage that you do on enemies. There's one that has a wheel that if I upgrade it, it does damage to regular enemies in the dungeon. Like it just increases the output of damage that I do on those enemies. But its reciprocal is one that does extra damage on bosses and mini bosses. So again, what kind of run are you doing? Are you doing a just get as far as you can to collect embers, or are you actually going to try to get through as many bosses as possible? You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And there's 6 different options to do that. But it's a very simple skill tree. It's just, dude, it is so good because this scratches that itch of perfect run for me so well. Because not every run feels amazing, right? That's kind of the beauty of these games, is that they don't all feel amazing, but once you get that perfect lineup of a build that just works, and it feels like you're breaking the game. You know what I mean? Like I've got
oh yeah.
I've got this one that every time I get a perfect timing deal, it increases the percentage of damage on my skills by 1% every time I get a perfect. So by the end of my run, I was at like 230% damage on my skills, which is awesome. It's just like this incredibly powerful weapon. Obviously I'm going to get overwhelmed at some point, but it's so much fun, man. Just when you figure out, and then you start adding all the new relics and the new skills, and the controls just feel very fluid. Everything just feels amazing. So I am absolutely loving Ember Knights. This game is so good. I am glued to my Switch, and I should say I'm playing it on Switch. It's also available on PC. This comes from developer Doom Turtle and publisher Two Sales Interactive, and was provided to us by Sandbox Strategies. So shout out to those guys, because I was talking to you about this game when we were working together. Do you remember? I was like, I requested this game. Yeah. I really want to play it, and I didn't get it. And I finally got it, and I'm so happy. This is going. I can't imagine this game is not going to be in my top 10 of the year, if not.
Have you gotten a chance to play it on multiplayer yet?
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. I have not. This game does support 4-player multiplayer, which I don't know how that's going to work. I
had questions because in the trailer it shows 4 of them. They're all different colors and they're all using different weapons. So I didn't know if it was going to be almost like a character select or
like Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, kind of.
That's a good
this
question.
Guy uses a bow. This guy uses a sword. This guy uses. Well, it looked like one of them had guns too. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I wanted to make sure that this wasn't going to be like a Ninja Turtles game to where all 3 players have chosen their characters and now you're just stuck with whatever's left.
That's interesting. I'll have to we'll have to try that. I'll probably see tomorrow, right? Maybe yeah. I'll bring it and we'll try it. Take a break at some point and see how it works with 2-player. Although it'd be hard to play that game with the little Joy-Cons. We may have to bring like a Pro controller or something, because that would be rough. But yeah, I'll report back, or we'll report back on the multiplayer on that. I feel like it would be too chaotic, man. I really, there's a lot going on. It
looked like it was chaotic.
1 player. Yeah. So
I was watching the trailer alone. There's so many going on.
Yeah. It's so much fun though, man. It's really great, and I hope everybody checks it out.
I'm assuming that's a recommendation.
Oh yeah, clearly. Like if you like games like that I've talked about in the past, like Rogue Legacy, Undermine, Children of Morta, what's the shopkeeper one? Moonlighter. Those, if you like those games like I did, this falls right in that wheelhouse. I feel like the developers have just kind of tweaked everything, made it feel like its own deal in a way that feels more perfect. I mean, I know everybody loves Hades. I should give Hades another shot. Hades just felt so much harder for me. I can't tell you why. I found Hades so difficult. And this one's not easy. This is like, you get hit by a boss, he takes away a third of your health. You know what I mean? It's like it's not easy, and there's so many moving parts. I keep discovering stuff as I go too, man. Like there's secrets in the game. Like I came across this one spot that had like a frozen waterfall, and I was like, hey, I wonder what happened if I just like hit that with my fire skill. And sure enough, it opened up, and there was like a hidden item in there, and it was marked like hidden item number 13 or something. So like, there's apparently quite a few of these hidden secrets in the game that all it did was let me like change the color of my character's head, like the flaming fireball or whatever, and change his outfit. So it's nothing like major, but it's just fun to find that stuff. And then I keep coming across, different rooms of like, what do you call? I came across a room called the Mimic King, which is basically a mimic, like from Dungeons and Dragons. And it's like this chest that just does like the hide the shell game with you, but it's chess. Yeah. And you have to like follow the hidden one, and if you get the right one, then you get like all this extra items and everything. And that I just discovered that today. Like that's just all brand new. I keep coming across new stuff. I discovered a character that lets me sacrifice one of my skills or relics, and then I get something awesome in return. So the game just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and I absolutely love it. So Ember Knights, I cannot recommend that game enough. Go play it.
Good. I'm glad you're having fun with that.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it. I'm sure I'll talk about it more in 3 weeks, because I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. I'm not going to be here next week or the following week. I'll be out of the country. So if I don't have it finished, I should have it finished by then. I better have it finished by then. But all right, real quick before we get to the topic, I want to remind everybody about our social media outlets. If you'd like to follow us, go to facebook.com/groups/thegocast. We got an awesome community over there that I keep updated with any news that I find, any deals that I find, and all of our podcast episodes. Also, our Discord server is live and thriving. You can find a link for that in the show notes of this very episode. We would love it if you joined over there. And also, if you get a chance, drop us a review over on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to shows if you have the ability to do so. It helps us get the word out there about The Gaming Outsider. And lastly, our website, thegamingoutsider.com. That's where you can find all of our episodes. You can find all of our Patreon episodes. You can find information on R2V2, and you can find all of our written content as well. I've got about 2 or 3 reviews that I should have coming out in the next week or two, so stay tuned for that. With that, let's go ahead and jump into our From the Outside In topic. This week's topic comes from David Newman, one of our writers, and here's what he suggested. This is the quote that he suggested on social media. He says, quote, "The gaming industry continues to grow, and I'm sure not many people would have predicted the size it would become. Since I'd imagine it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, what do you think the gaming industry will look like in 5 years, 10 years, 25 years? What genre do you think will be the hottest? How much more can games look like the real world? Do you think esports will surpass real sports in popularity?" Unquote. So there's a lot to unpack here, and I'm going to start with you, Jake, on all of these because you're the only one here with me. Let's start right off the top. And he says, "What do you see? What do you see the industry looking like in the next 5 years, 10 years, or 25 years?"
All right, so reading this question, I was hit with a bunch of mixed emotions, and the 5, 10, 25 years really hurts me, because looking back at what the industry was like 25 years ago, you're talking the original Modern Warfare 2 was kind of coming out right around that area. It was I think it was 2009 was that one. And it was such a simple
25
game.
Years ago, man.
I know it wasn't 25 years ago, but it was, like 15? Yeah. Whatever.
Closer.
It was long enough ago that it works. Yeah. But those games were simple. What you got was what what you bought is what you got. What you see is what you get. That kind of thing. And
you don't want no updates?
well, not just updates, because, that would be even further back, PlayStation 2 era, all that kind of stuff. You bought the game, it was on a disc, and that was it. That was the end of it. If it was broken, it was broken. But even then, after some of the updates, there were small bug fixes and this and that and whatever. And now, I loved MW2 when it first came out. Me and my friends played it all the time. And then I went and did all this computer stuff, in my 20s. And I decided to start taking closer looks at these games as they continue to come out. And when you start doing digging in these games as the industry has progressed, it angers me. And I'm using Call of Duty because it is the biggest purveyor of these instances that I have. So they started implementing the loot boxes. Now, a lot of games have loot boxes, but what Call of Duty did beyond that was it's like a social leveling system. So behind the scenes, behind everything, the more you interacted with players, the more you participated in games, the more events or daily challenges you did within the game increased your social level. And so when you bought loot boxes or earned them or however you got these loot boxes, your social level decided what you were going to get in those loot boxes. And so players who bought the game, who said, you know what, I'm going to go through and spend a bunch of money and buy all of the loot boxes that I can, ended up with almost nothing. Whereas players who played the game for a lot longer ended up with better loot boxes further down the line.
Oh, interesting. That sounds like a good thing.
For me, though, I'm spending money on a loot box, which is a random chance. It doesn't tell me what my chances are. And so it ends up being more gambling. And the next thing that Call of Duty did, it's arguable. Some people have come out of the woodwork from what was the term? Sources connected to the material or whatever it was earlier.
Sure.
They said that Call of Duty will take good players or players in good standing that have bought DLC or cosmetics or that kind of stuff and put them in lobbies that they know that they would do really well in, versus players that have not bought cosmetics, in the hopes of these players that have not bought cosmetics will see players who have bought cosmetics doing really, really well, and will end up buying the cosmetics thinking that they will do better because of them.
That's gross.
And I'm watching this from a standpoint and going, this is what games are becoming. And more games are following down this path, trying to promote people to get cosmetics that mean nothing. And I go back to Diablo 4 with this, because Diablo 4 is following in the footsteps of Diablo Immortal with cosmetics that cost upwards of $25 for just a suit of armor that doesn't do anything for you. And so you have these players that are already spending $70 to buy the game, and then they're spending an extra, however much money they want to spend on just cosmetics that don't do anything for them. One of the worst egregious things.
That's happening now in what's the Fortnite. Fortnite is just like
oh yeah,
cosmetics.
Fortnite's been doing it for years.
Yeah, and it's working. Fortnite has it's kind of hard to argue against.
Fortnite has but Fortnite has a really bad one, because when Fortnite was first coming out, they told the public that they were going to be the Save the World edition or whatever the hell it was. Beforehand, and they released the beta for the game to test it like a month or so prior or whatever, and that was just the battle royale version of the game.
Right.
And so many people loved so many people loved the battle royale version of the game, they completely scrapped the Save the World edition. And that didn't come out for however long afterwards, but you had all these people who bought in to get like the founders packages and all that kind of stuff and all this stuff, and then they didn't get what they bought paid for until like another year later, because the programmers, the developers shifted their few from making the game what they wanted it to be to going after the money, because they got people to buy in to all these things and cosmetics and getting the battle royales and all that kind of stuff. And it sucks, because I think it opened a lot of doors to other games seeing that and going, oh, we don't need to try so hard in getting our games good. As long as we keep adding new things, people will continue buy these things.
So do you think that, like, in the future, it's going to go to more of a free-to-play model? Because that was going to be my answer, is that to me, the future of games is going to be multiplayer. I mean, we're already starting to see that, where it feels more and more that people are being driven by, the battle royale games and the online games like Rocket League even, and these things where you're playing against people, which I'm the weirdo that just wants to play a single player story, or something. I like to play some games by myself, but I like to play them co-op. I'm not a competitive guy. You know what I mean?
So yeah.
So I feel like the future is going to be this free to play model is going to be the primary factor, and it's going to be where you're just paying for cosmetics and everything like that, because there's going to be a subset of people that are willing to pay for those cosmetics. And then it's just us single player people are gonna kind of be like left by the wayside, because the old guy that wants to play a story mode, he wants to play by himself. That's weird.
Well, see, this is where I get weird with this, because what is it? Oh man, Shadow of War was a single player game. It had multiplayer aspects where you went to other players' world and fought their people, but it was primarily a single player game, and they had an in-game currency with loot box systems that you could buy. And
now that's the Lord of the Rings game you're talking about,
yes.
Right?
Yeah. And so that had an in-game, shop that you could go to and buy upgrades and different things for your character and whatnot. That cost real money, but that was still a single player game. And I'm afraid that in the next couple of years, just like with now Diablo 4, the companies are going to start realizing that you can put a $70 game out there and still have all of the purchases in there, because people are willing to pay $70 and then $20 for cosmetics.
Right.
And so, we might see even games that were supposed to be free to play are now going to be $40, $50 just as a little overhead on top of it, to purchase everything. One game that I think does a great job on this idea is Warframe. Warframe has been out for almost a decade, I believe. Mm-hmm. And it was a free-to-play game. It's always been free. All of their updates have been free. You've never paid a single dime unless you wanted to, and everything in the game is available to you. And so coming from a gaming aspect, you get a game for free, and yet there's timers and stuff. If you make a weapon, it takes, 12 hours to make the gun and whatever. If you don't want to wait 12 hours, you spend a little bit of money to speed up the timer and whatever. And that's fine. Maybe you want to buy the new thing without having to work for it. Okay, you can do that too. I have a friend who spent, I think it's $800 on Warframe. It's a lot of money, but he spent all of this money throughout the decade to get the things that he wants without having to work for it. And I'm completely the opposite way. And I have spent almost zero. I think I spent $20 on the game when I first got it. And I haven't spent any money since. And I've been playing it for 8 years as well. And so we have relatively the same experience, but he has different things than I do because he spent, all the money, but I can achieve those things through time. And so that works because it gives you a time skip. But some of these things where they're coming up with cosmetics where it really doesn't mean anything and you can't earn them any other way except buying them, I think it's overall hurting the industry, because 5, 10, 25 years from now, you're going to find these companies, it's just going to become a bigger and bigger and bigger money grab. And with these companies going digital, in 25 years, you could have, I think one of the comments says the Ready Player One idea, mm-hmm. where you have a full thing with all of these streaming services and all this stuff to you. And that scares me because just like in Ready Player One, how far are they going to go? How much money are they going to try to pretty much extort from you to allow you to play the game that they're making?
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be a business. It's a business model. It's just how scuzzy is that business model going to look? Because like what you're talking about, like where they're analyzing and they're putting people that are playing poorly into lobbies where that's going to make them want to. That just sounds so gross to me. Just let them play the game.
We'll go one step further. It's been reported that with Call of Duty gets new guns, Overwatch gets new characters, all that kind of stuff. It's been reported that with these new skins and new guns and all that kind of stuff, it changes the gun just enough to make it stronger or more appealing to players that, they have an easier time winning with these new skins or these new characters or whatever, to promote that character to other players so they buy them too, so they feel like they're winning. And then, something will come out and be like, oh, well, there was an error in the code that made, this gun skin make the gun have extra fire rate or more power or whatever. And me knowing what's going on kind of a little bit behind the background goes, there should be no reason you make a skin and it affects the code. Mm-hmm. The gun should be the gun. And if you add a skin to it, that should be it. But you got caught doing something shady. And now you're trying to backtrack, and everyone who doesn't know what's going on is just, oh, we forgive you guys. You guys made a mistake, and they're none the wiser. But these are just tactics as these companies use just to get maybe a chance of more income out of you.
Yeah. The thing that I think about, just going on like 25 years. I mean, in 25 years, man, I'll be 68. I'll be retired. Like, do you ever think about that? Like, when I think of people like in retirement homes or in assisted living or, like the elderly, communities, what I'm talking about? Like, I'm not going to say like, yep. Like if you ever go visit family there, you always see people doing things like playing bridge or doing puzzles. Like in 25 years, are we going to be the weirdos that are all sitting up? Are we going to have the hand-eye coordination to be able to play these games in our 60s and 70s? You know what I mean?
Oh, did you see that, lads? I would have gotten him if he hadn't gotten the leg.
The lag. Yeah. We're gonna still be blaming it.
He's a hacker.
I call hacks. But we'll be able to play locally. We'll just have these LAN networks set up in these retirement homes. Like we just have like a commons area where we get together throughout the day and play these games together. I don't know. I just that somebody I can't remember who put an image either on Facebook or on Discord of like it's that scene from Django Unchained with Leonardo DiCaprio's character doing that like look on his face. And he's holding, instead of holding his glass of wine or sherry or whatever, he's holding an Xbox controller, and they've made his face look old. And they're like, oh, everybody getting worried about, turning 60, 70 years old and having to go to a retirement home. I'm perfectly fine with that because this is going to be me. Like, that sounds amazing to be like, not have to do anything and not have to go anywhere, just stay in my room and play all the games
when I was younger. The group of friends that I met, I was 16 when I met them, and we gamed for a really long time. And one of them turned 30, and we were giving him a hard time about being old. And I sent him a picture with a PlayStation controller with tennis balls over the handles, so he could grip it better. And I thought that was the funniest thing. Ha, you're old, and now I'm 33 and I'm still playing, and I'm like, oh man.
Here's the other thing too. When I think about the future of games, I always just kind of imagined that the future of video games was going to be the holodeck. Especially after the Kinect launched, I was so hopeful for the Kinect when that first came out, and it was fun to play with, but it was nowhere near like you are the controller kind of deal.
Right.
But that's what we all wanted, right? We wanted the holodeck from Star Trek, where you just like go into a room. Or you go into an area and it's augmented reality, and you just run around and it feels real, it looks real. but it's not.
Computer, load Skyrim.
Yeah, exactly. Could you imagine? That just would... I don't know if that's the future anymore, honestly, because I know VR is huge, and VR has become a little bit more mainstream in terms of being accepted by the populace. Like the people are doing it that I never would have assumed would be playing VR. It's not like a weird thing to do anymore. And that technology is taking off. I feel like instead of it being a holodeck experience, I think it's going to be more like the they just announced a little while ago. Is it Steam that's making it? No, it's Apple. Apple's like new goggles that they have coming out in like the next 3 years. They're gonna be like,
no.
Have you seen them?
No, I haven't.
It's not just for gaming. It's like for like you wear these things. They look like a scuba mask goggles.
I've seen stuff like that.
Yeah, but this one was like legit. Like you can watch movies in it, but you can also see the rest of the world. So it's like being in VR without
there
being
was
blocked out from vision.
Yeah, there was a company a few years ago that was working on a visual overlay system. The glasses they had looked like aviators, just a big glasses. But they were connected to a computer that had a camera on your chest. And then it saw the world, and then it produced an overlay onto the glasses, and it would scary implications. They wanted to use it for facial recognition and all that stuff, but I mean that would be terrifying. You turn around and you see somebody, and it automatically brings up your Facebook page.
Like Watch Dogs.
Yeah,
it'd be like Watch Dogs for real.
But they wanted to be able to use GPS with it. And so, the computer would figure out where you were at, and then it would overlay, on the road or the sidewalk or whatever you were walking on, it would overlay a marker or something to lead you in your direction. And so that was kind of cool. But, so as we get closer and closer to the virtual reality idea of this stuff, it's getting kind of scary as to, how long are we going to have these devices on our head?
Right. or it's going to be weird if you don't have one on your head. You're walking around and like, oh, who's the weirdo that's not wearing his goggles? You know what I mean? Like that's just, I don't know.
Oh, Ready Player One.
Yeah. Let's go on to the next question that David asks is, what genre do you think will be the hottest in the future?
Oh man, that's so hard. Because, it wasn't not too long ago that I don't even know what to say. I don't remember what the trend was before Battle Royales was. I guess I wasn't paying that much attention, but it seemed like overnight Battle Royales became this thing, and then everyone was doing it. And now we've got, it seems to have calmed down a little bit, and we're back to kind of like normal games, here and there and whatnot. But, for a while there, it seemed like, Skyrim was out forever and was re-releasing forever. Fallout had come out and it saw its heyday and all that kind of stuff. And that was its lifestyle. So, what game is going to come out in the next 10 years? It's all going to stop, make everyone stop and look at it and go, this is a great idea. Everyone should be doing this.
Here's what I think is going to be the next genre. It's going to be augmented reality battle royale. So you're going to be able to go to parks, just like you go to a paintball park or whatever, that you go paintballing. It's going to be like that, but instead of doing paint, it's going to be more like laser tag, but it's going to be just a wide open area, and everything is going to be, you're going to see, barricades and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Fortnite
like you're going to... Yeah, Fortnite. There you go. That's a good way to say it. Fortnite Go. I think it won't even be like playing games at home will be the weird thing. Like we'll be the old guys that are like, I just want to play my game in front of my screen and sit on my couch with a controller in my hands. And everybody else is going to be like, no, why would you want to do that? Why, go do this and meet up with people. Yeah, like Pokemon Go, but with Fortnite. Yeah, that's a really good way to say it. So,
oh man, that would be big.
And this kind of ties into David's next question, which is how much more can games look like the real world? I think from a digital standpoint, it's we're getting closer, but it always just feels just a little off. And I feel like there's always going to be that little bit off. But I think, again, AR is going to be the thing where you're going to see things overlaid, and instead of seeing digital representations of characters, you're going to see actual people. You know what I mean? Because you're standing there with people. That's what I think the future of that's going to be. So,
well, on that same idea, I don't think it's going to be how much more can a game look like the real world, but feel like the real world. With all these AIs and all these things popping up and being able to, mimic voices and talk with you and come up with new ideas and all this kind of stuff, are we going to end up with an idea that you're playing, Fallout, and instead of having the same 3, talking points to a character, you're going to have, 40, or going to be able to type something in, or what have you.
Audibly.
And then have this person, hear it, or, whatever, analyze it and come back. I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Do you think esports will surpass real sports in popularity? That's his last question.
Right. This was a big question, man.
I know.
Esports are pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea if they will reach the same popularity as real sports.
I don't think so.
I think given enough time, maybe. But when you're talking about seating thousands of people in the stadium to go watch a couple of guys throw a ball around, I don't think thousands of people want to go see a couple of guys pass a controller back and forth.
Well, especially when you can watch it online.
Right. I've watched esports for a few years now online. I usually watch Smash Brothers tournaments. And those get kind of wild. But even if you look in the background of those, they might have them on the big screen and they're, whatever. But the people in the back look bored.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's, just competitors waiting their turns and, a few of their friends or whatnot. But other than that, there's not, a crowd of people holding signs. Oh, let's go. And, the matches are only so long. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't think it's going to reach the same level of it because you can't, what are you going to do? Have, hot dog stands and stuff next to a 15-minute game?
Right. Yeah. Well, and honestly, it should become more popular for the simple fact that real sports doesn't change a whole lot. You know what I mean? Baseball is still baseball. Like, baseball is still at its core the same game. Sure, they've tweaked some of the rules, and now, like this year, they've added the pitching clock and all that kind of stuff. Football has changed some of the rules, like where the kickoff is, because they don't want to have concussions and all that. But it's still the same game. And I feel like esports has so much more variety in terms of what kind of games are available. You know what I mean? There's Rocket League, there's shooters, there's MOBAs. I mean, there's just so many different kinds of games, and there's new stuff coming out all the time. So I don't know. But maybe that's why it won't, actually. Like, in my mind, I like the idea of having more variety, but I think the general population just likes the consistency of these real sports.
I don't want to downplay anyone's hard work and their pastimes or whatever, but with football, baseball, basketball, whatever these sports teams are or whatever, there's so many people that are willing to put off everything else in their life to do that one thing, and then they never have a chance to do that one thing. But I don't feel like there's that kind of group going into gaming. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a couple of people here and there to do it, but the sheer number of people who are trying to get into, the NFL and don't get into the NFL, gives them like a constant, supply of people to do it. And I don't know if, it's like, what is it, Dota? I'm sure there's still Dota tournaments going around, but how many people are, how many new players is Dota getting to continue on the tournaments? How many new players is Counter-Strike getting to continue their tournaments,
Right, but the difference there is you can naturally progress to whatever the new hot game is. Like, you don't hear a lot of sports athletes that started playing basketball and then, weren't able to play basketball anymore and then moved over to football. You know what I mean? Like it just, Michael Jordan went from basketball to baseball, right? But he didn't do very well.
Yeah. It's the same idea, because if you play Rocket League and you want to go to Call of Duty, you have a completely different muscle memory than whatever. You're looking for different things. Maybe your reaction time isn't the same as somebody waiting for somebody to come around a corner, but could you train for it? Yes. But I think they were saying that the lifespan of a pro gamer was really, really short. Right. You got football players going into their 40s, but they were saying that some of these people develop carpal tunnel in their 20s, and then they can't do the dexterity that they used to do, when they were younger. And younger, like 5 years ago. And so, they're in the game and then they're out of the game, and they can't do the dexterous movements to pick up another game to continue on their thing. And so, you have the beloved, teams are going to, roll through members, every, 5 or 10 years.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. But to answer his question, I don't think it'll surpass real sports, at least not in the next 25 years. Next 50 years, 100 years. Yeah, I could see that.
Maybe.
Because, we're getting lazier too, man. Like eventually we're going to run out of athletes.
Well, what happens when they decide to put cameras in the helmets and give us a VR headset?
There you go.
And then, we're like the actual player on the field, and we can see, I think that would just make fans even that much more wanting to stay with actual sports versus going.
Dude, that could be the thing. Like, instead of watching it on TV, you just strap on your goggles and see it from the perspective of whichever player you want. Yeah. And then there's no privacy for those players anymore when they're on the field. You know what I mean?
Bad lip reading.
Yeah, right. I want to get into the comments, and I'm going to start, if you don't mind, because I feel like Paul Hine over on Discord really echoed my feelings almost exactly. So I want to read his first, and then I'll let you start over on Facebook. So Paul Hine says, I think 5 years we will see the death of physical media. Only the most hardcore collectors and pirates will keep the physical media alive. At some point, it may even become hipster as vinyl music. Companies have way too much control with digital-only media to reverse course. Look at GTA 5's bajillion releases and even a Last of Us remake coming every 8 months. 10 years, consoles will be dead. I hope I'm wrong. See, the companies will have a total vertical control over our experience, and we will play games on existing devices or screens, such as TV, tablet, phone, and will pay said company for a fee for the privilege or subscriptions to see this interactive entertainment. 20 years from now, battery tech should catch up enough to allow more immersive VR driving ever more clear and powerful machines we put right up to our eyes. With it becoming far less hassly than it is now, this is the point where entertainment is going to go. Theaters will be dead, TVs will die, we will just jack into jack. Think Ready Player One, but with a lot less whimsy. I thought his points were really interesting, and I totally agree. And I'm the rest of my team here that's normally here, my co-hosts are gonna yell and scream when they hear me say this, because we had this physical versus digital debate. But I think physical media is going to be gone. He said in 10 years. I 100% agree with that. I really do.
I believe it's going to be gone, and not for the fact that it's going to be easier or whatever, but it's going to save a buck. Mm-hmm. They won't have to make CDs. They won't have to print those CDs. They won't have to make cases. It's just going to save the companies a couple of dollars here and a couple of dollars there, and they're just going to move it to digital.
I think really the only thing that's holding that back right now is the infrastructure of the internet, which, is massive, but it's not massive enough to be able to do that yet. But in the next 10 years, it very well could be.
I feel like there's still a want for hard copies, and they're just filling that need.
Yeah.
In 10 years, those, the kids that are coming up are going to be like, what is this? What is this CD, a Blu-ray? What are these? Everything is just downloaded and
dude, we're already there, man. My students in my fourth grade class are like, what's a disc? They don't watch anything on disc anymore. It's all streaming media. But
they're not the ones spending their money yet.
Right,
and
but they will be.
Right. And so once they start spending their money on things, they're not going to spend their money on hard stuff. Mm-hmm. They're going to buy digital. And so once that turn comes, no company is going to ever make hard copies again.
Yep. I agree. And I love his comment about it becoming hipster. Like if you have vinyl records, you're like, old school, man. Yeah, they sound better on vinyl. And yes, I know I've heard the arguments about how they sound better. We're going to be those people. Oh, the game plays better on a physical disc, which doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I just really feel like that's the way it's going to go. No more physical media. And I think that he's right. Consoles will not be a thing. We're already getting there. You can actually get an Xbox Game Pass if you have a Samsung TV and just jack into your Xbox Game Pass directly on your TV. You don't even need the console anymore. That's where it's going to be. That's what's going to happen in 10 years. Yeah, I 100% agree. And then, like you said,
I think it's all.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think it's all going to go to streaming.
Yeah,
it's not even going to be downloaded. It's going to be streaming.
Yep, I agree. We're going to have Netflix-like services for games. I mean, we kind of already do with Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. There's just going to be a lot more of them.
Well, they tried it with Google, but I don't think the world was ready for it yet.
No. It was just a little bit too early on that one. So anyway, Paul, thank you so much for the comment. That was really good, and I agreed with pretty much everything you said. Why don't you kick things off over on Facebook, Jacob?
All right. Let's see. Brian Regals, did I say that right?
Yep.
On Facebook, says, what's interesting to me is I'm 45 and started gaming when I was 8, which was 54. In 1977.
54.
What did I say?
You said 45.
I am so sorry. My dyslexia kicking in. 54 and started gaming when I was 8, which was in 1977. I had almost every console and a full line of gaming PCs and VR devices. I've seen all the major changes, and looking back, it's amazing how much gaming technology has changed. I worked at Software Incorporated from 1990 to 1993, and whatever. That makes sense. What did I say? Whatever. Computer ability from 1993 to 1995. I was there for the launch of the Genesis, TurboGrafx, the Super NES, the Neo Geo, the Commodore Amiga 500, and 2000. I don't see me ever giving up gaming.
Yeah. He's like you said, he's 54. He beat, was it Remnant 2 that came out this week? He already beat it.
Yeah.
He's 54 years old. And so, yeah. We're
all going to be gaming in the future. 54.
Yeah, right?
Wow.
Just,
my hands hold up. Right?
Right.
Oh, man.
Sean Coates over on Facebook says, it's hard to say what the future holds. After having the physical versus digital discussion a couple weeks ago, it surely feels like the market will inevitably force physical to die. In terms of hardware and how we interact with gaming, I'm guessing a Ready Player One Oasis type of ecosystem. I know we all like to make fun of Mark Zuckerberg and the metaverse, and it truly is something to laugh at. But I have a feeling that's where we're going. There will be one shared VR platform consortium, and all of the companies in both hardware and software will make devices, programs to run on that platform. The only thing I know for sure is that Sony's next console will be called PlayStation 6. I don't agree that there's not going to be one Oasis, because there's always going to be a competitor that's going to want to do it better their way. The only way
I think it's going to be... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The only way I could see it being a deal where, it's one company doing this is if it's a government entity, and it's not going to be a thing for America. That's not going to fly where the government says you have to buy this product. That's the only way I could see that being one product. I think there will always be competitors out there. What were you going to say?
No, I'm seeing it like TVs. You've got Sony TVs, you got Samsung, you got this TV, you got that TV. They're just going to sell their headsets. And when you put on the headset, there's going to be doors. There's going to be PlayStation, Xbox, and whoever else decides to throw their hat in the ring later. And you're just going to walk through the door, and it's going to be their environment. Exactly. And you're going to have to pay to get into those doors. It's just going to be cable, but for VR headsets.
Mm-hmm. Piecemeal cable. I agree.
Yeah.
All right, why don't you head over to...
It's going to be ugly.
The next comment over on Discord.
All right, we have a live on Discord. I think cyberpunk theme might come to reality with a lot of the electronics coming out now, especially when the neutral link that Elon has been working on. The neural link, my bad.
Neural link, yeah.
Apparently I can't read today. With the neural link that Elon has been working on, that is a scary, scary thought. Because I do not want to be plugged into anything. I grew up with the Matrix, and that sounds terrifying.
We've had all these movies to warn us of this. Like, we've had movies about AI. We've had movies about, jacking into things and being taken over by machines. And we're not listening. We're just, all right, plug into my brain. That sounds like a good idea.
What's the Jurassic Park quote? Our scientists were too busy wondering if we could and never stopped to think if we should.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's a whole lot of that going on right now. And Drew Ross agrees.
Oh, yeah.
He says, patiently waiting till I can jack into the Matrix. So, yeah, clearly that's the same thing there. Our last comment comes from Fierce74. He says, possibly Sims. He's talking about the most popular genre, I would assume. Possibly Sims, with the existence of things like lawnmower, power washer, and house flipper, teaching real-world skills via video game will be embraced by many more facets of life. Society will hopefully finally understand that video game measures up to any tool. 'Tis a good question. That's a really good point. I feel like we've been talking about video games being used by the military or by NASA to help train, astronauts and soldiers for their respective jobs. Why not have that as like a real life training thing where you can do all these things without having to actually being fear of danger? Right. I mean, or think of all like the jobs out there that are so dangerous. I saw a TikTok today of a crane that was like dismantling a bridge. I think I shared it on our group chat, and the bridge destroyed, and they had this crane literally attached to a cable. So the crane was just like, dangling by this cable that was holding because they were expecting it to fall underneath it. That kind of stuff, like jobs like that are putting people's lives in danger, could be manned by drones operated by somebody from a safe location.
Well, that's another whole level. That's what's the Will Smith movie? iRobot.
iRobot, yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole nother level of scariness, but no, these are great ideas. The lawnmower simulator, the power wash simulator, I know they've got like Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's a great tool for people who want to learn or get an idea of what a job or a profession might entail to go off and do for themselves. That it's inexpensive. They don't have to take the full class for it. They don't have to actually get behind the wheel. It's something they can do in their own home, and it gives them an idea of what to expect while doing that job. I don't know how well Trash Man Simulator is going to be, or Sewer Drain Cleaner Simulator is going to be, but I mean, I myself have played some really, really terrible games, and they're just little dollar games, but they're like that stuff, and I could definitely see.
You were the one that would promoted Chair Simulator, if I remember correctly.
Yes, sir. The game about sitting, which was actually an art piece. It was an art piece done by the developer to show how much time we spend sitting, which was weird, but that's a story for another time. But no, I could definitely see video games being used, maybe not in full classrooms yet, but definitely as the simulations for NASA and all that kind of stuff. It's just easier to do that kind of stuff than to actually send people where we need to send them to train them.
Right.
And a tidbit of this kind of thing. Years ago, they did a study on reflexes and eyesights using video games, and they actually found out that playing first-person shooters on the highest sensitivity can actually increase make your eyesight better.
Wow.
I don't know what it is. I don't remember the study completely, but I remember that people who played the game for X amount of hours all of a sudden they just started seeing better. I don't know if it like their brain forced them to see better or if their eyes were actually fixing themselves a little bit, but
so like training it was your a weird eyes.
Huh. Yeah, it was a weird study. But people have been studying games for years to figure out the applications that they can put these in to help the world in any way they can. And I think little by little the world is kind of seeing the good that can come out of them.
I agree. Well, that was a fun topic. Thank you to David Newman for the suggestion. I was hoping I wish we could have had this whole discussion with the whole group as well, but I was happy to have you here, man. It was really great chatting with you. Next week's topic is going to be first of the month, so it's going to be community questions. So stay tuned for the socials. We will get that post out there, and we want to hear from you. What video game-related questions would you like us to discuss on the episode? We do it every month. But that's going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Jacob, thank you so much, not only for helping out down at the Lyran so much these past couple weeks, but for joining me on today's episode. It was a ton of fun. I hope you had a good time.
I did. Thank you. It was my pleasure. I'm so excited.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to get a recommendation from you here in a second, but I want to real quick thank everybody out there for listening. The Gaming Outsider is produced by Kevin Honigford, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemage and Metroid Metal. His website, again, is stemagemusic.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Jacob, do you have any parting words or recommendations for our listeners?
Well, me and you just went and saw Mission Impossible. And,
yes, we did. And your kids.
And my kids, yeah. Which I thank you, by the way. That was unnecessary, but it was a great gift to them. They weren't as excited about the movie as I was. I don't show excitement very well, but I enjoyed the show. I'm not a huge Mission Impossible fan, but that one I was pleasantly surprised about how much comedy they intertwined into the action to keep it, just keep you involved into it. I was waiting to see what was going to happen next, if there was going to be a funny moment or if there was going to be more action, and it just kept me involved.
I agree, and it was 2 hours and 43 minutes or something like that. It did not feel that long.
It was shocked. A long time, and I had to use the potty. I was not expecting it to be that long, or I would have used the bathroom beforehand.
Yeah,
and it was exciting to see the climax of the movie. But I was so happy to get out of the movie so I could go because I couldn't sit there any longer.
Yeah, I will say, and I won't tell you, you'll know what I'm talking about. But there was a scene straight out of a particular video game franchise that it felt like, oh, we're doing that right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I don't want to give it away for people, but very, very reminiscent.
Gotta go see it.
I got a recommendation as well. I can't, you and I have been listening to a lot of music together, but I discovered a band this past week that has become a pretty big favorite in terms of new bands I've discovered recently. They're called Dirty Honey. Have you ever heard of Dirty Honey before?
I have not.
I hadn't either. The song that I found is called Won't Take Me Alive. I highly recommend you checking it out. It's got that dirty 70s sound to it, like Greta Van Fleet or Led Zeppelin kind of deal, but with just a little bit of tiny bit of funk. He's got an awesome voice. I highly recommend you check out the band Dirty Honey. I just love the band name too. I just think it's really cool. So it's getting to be concert season 2 here. I got like 4 concerts booked when I get back from vacation, so it's going to be a busy few months. But all right, man, Jake, it was a ton of fun. Had a blast with you. Can't wait to do it again, and I'm sure I'll see you tomorrow. Right? We're gonna keep on plugging along down at the Lyran.
That's the plan.
Yeah. Well, until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Jacob Gunderson, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.